Hello, everybody. Welcome to From the Ground Up. My name is Leo Kelly. I'm the CEO of Verdence Capital Advisors. And From the Ground Up is a conversation we have with entrepreneurs who share their stories of their successes, their challenges, and how they reached the moment that they're in and how they built their success. I am very excited today to have Dee Anna Sobczak on with us. I know Dee Anna personally. She has been successful on numerous occasions. Hers is a story of perseverance from the very beginning, from going to college, starting a business at a young age, going on and starting another business with her husband, and then starting again a third business as a single mom, and having incredible success. We'll hear multiple exits. We'll hear the story about challenging times, being in a hospital, running growth with a son who was in surgery. We'll hear about perseverance, and I think we're going to hear about the thrill. You know? Welcome to From the Ground Up, Deanna. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you, Leo. It's a pleasure being here today. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And by the way, Michelle Deanna's already promised to say thank you at the end and that she had a great time. So I have you on record.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's really good prompting.
I have no idea.
Well, so you've had an amazing career. You've built up two businesses,
Actually,
exited
three.
two.
No, there's
Right.
three. There's a little accounting firm that I had on the front end,
Okay.
kind of where I got my start, where I realized I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Okay. Well, there you go. First correction of the day, Michelle. Um,
That's one of many. I'm just doing little hash marks. So
Thank you. And you've really had an interesting experience, interesting businesses, and you continue in the business, and I love your background. Um, One of the things I love the most is you started out at the Community College of Baltimore County, Essex. I'm a graduate of Mercer County Community College, and it's so funny because in today's world, with kids today, it's everything is about, finding the grandiose school with the, the resort style living, et cetera, and, there's a lot to be said for that early background, right? Going through the grit. Tell me about
Yeah,
coming through school and
absolutely.
your beginning.
Sure. So I grew up actually here in Baltimore, and we were middle class, lower middle class, and my parents really didn't have the money to send me to college. So I began working and going to school at night, and I went to then it was actually called Essex Community College. Now it's has a different name to it, but and then I you know finished that and transferred to Towson University. But the thing that I would say about college, and I said this to my kids many times, it's not where you go, it's what you put into it and what you get out of it. So, if you go and go to Clemson or, Syracuse or Boulder, and you just breeze through it and you don't study, um, you're not going to get anything out of it. So you only get out of anything what you put into it.
Yeah. Do you think going to school at nights and grinding, that was a good start for your next
Absolutely.
next wave of life? What were you doing during the day? You're going to school at
I
night?
was working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was working and then going to school and paying my way.
Yeah.
So that's how it all started.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife, so Deanna, knows my wife, Marcy. Marcy and I both went to community college. We both put ourselves through school. We were both working full time trying to get through school, and I think that adds a little bit of grit, as you start to go out into the business world. I think you're already running at a different speed than the folks coming in who've, let's just say, had a little bit better time during their school
Absolutely.
year.
So it's not living in a dorm and partying every night. That was not my life. I saved that for later.
Yeah, well, you get to do it now as
Yeah,
after a few exits. That's
exactly. While I was in school, I actually started an accounting firm, and I just hired a CPA that worked for me, and I became really the salesperson of the firm. Going out and getting clients, and still leading charge, but I had that CPA in the corner, that I could say, yes, we have a CPA. We can do whatever you need to do, and it worked very well. So I did that from probably for 7 years. I actually don't even remember how long now, and but what I really liked about having an accounting firm and working in public accounting was just as you do in your businesses, I got to see all types of businesses and I got to be part of their success stories, right? So I got to go in from the ground and work with them, and I had a couple businesses that had great exits. And I just really admired what those folks did to build these big businesses and then successfully, transition out of them.
Yeah, we've talked about that on this podcast before. The genesis of this podcast is stories about entrepreneurs, and you were in the business, and I'm in the business. Where one of the things I love most is hearing all these different stories, how people how people built their wealth, how their success came, and I especially today, right? Today in a world where there's all these young tech billionaires, and there's almost like this inaccurate image for young kids in school that I need to make my fortune by age 30, right? And without the understanding that really the vast majority of business and wealth and success comes from the grind. It comes from building your skills and building your network and slowly grinding your way up. And that's what we love about it. And so what was there one or two specific people that you remember during those years that drove the next phase that really got you thinking about that entrepreneurial next step? Not that you weren't, you started your own accounting firm, but
Right.
to go to another level.
Yeah, so there were a couple businesses. One of them was a small business. It was Coastal Sunbelt Produce Company,
Okay.
and when I started with them, they were Coastal Produce and Sunbelt Produce, and they were merging. So I became part of the helping them put this business together. And I remember, they might have had, and I might be totally off, like 7 trucks or something at that point in time. And I think their goal was to get to, I don't know, 10 trucks and maybe 10 or $20 million in sales. And, they ended up growing that business exponentially. I'm sure you've seen their trucks around
Yeah,
here.
sure.
And I was a big part of that early growth with them. And it was a fantastic story. They ended up selling, I believe they sold because I had already transitioned out of accounting by the time that they sold. And but I believe they sold to a private equity firm and, went on to do other things. One of the partners opened up a beer farm, and then another one does fishing expeditions in Ocean City.
Wow, sounds like fun. Sounds like a nice couple nice endeavors to do after we retire.
So that was a lot of fun. And then, really how I got into that second business was actually with my ex-husband because he did have a prior business and that business was not doing so well. And, so we ended up taking a small division that was just starting within that company
Mhm.
and breaking it out into its own company and then selling off the old pieces. And then that's where we jointly started from the ground up with that company.
CSS antenna.
It was CSS Antenna.
Yeah, so it's an interesting time, right? Because, um, again, people forget, especially some of the younger folks, 1999, 2000, there really wasn't an internet yet, right? It was AOL and the dot, and
Right. It was
and
AOL.
it was just email.
Right, and at the time, like CSS Antenna, we actually focused on, cell phones. So
Yeah,
cellular, antennas, that's what we sold, was
right.
the
Yeah, but
antennas to the carriers.
so
But
my point, so you start the internet's just coming around, the cell phones are as big as a
they're
suitcase.
like a little carrying around like a little mixer, the mixers have the little box that you store the stuff in, and they're big boxes.
Right, and so you have this idea, you're gonna go into this antenna business, put these antennas around. That's fantastic. I mean, it's
Yeah,
great timing.
yeah, so he had already established relationships with, the carriers, and at that time, now when you think about carriers, you think about Verizon, AT&T, and T, and T-Mobile, for the most part,
Mhm.
but there were many more carriers before they all
Bueller.
yeah, and so, we started with, Verizon, and we were with Singular until they sold to AT&T, and T, and then over the course of time, AT&T, uh, condensed their vendor list, and we did not make that cut.
Alright,
But
first adversity to overcome, right?
there were many adversities. If working in telecom in general, it's moving at the speed of light, and there's always it's just an ever evolving, ever changing business. So very stressful, and especially as the years went on, and there became less and less carriers that you had to work with, because basically you could wake up one day and not have any customers, right? So if you get cut from one of their your lists, you're done. And at that point in time, you have a whole manufacturing company, you have all these people that you're responsible for. So it was very stressful.
Well, so you did that through 2013. So you went through the mass build out of mobile.
We did. And we stayed in it until 4G. But, we had highs and lows. We did very well in the early 2000s. And then we kind of hit a speed bump in 2007 and 8. And we almost went out of business. We were working at the time, our bank, they came to us and said, look, you're over leveraged. We're going to give you this X amount of period of time to work this out. We were lucky enough to be able to bring in private equity at that time. It was Patriot Capital, which is here in Baltimore. They came in and provided some mezzanine funding, at a high coupon rate.
Right.
For a period of time. But then, the industry wasn't taking off the way that we had planned for it to take off. Originally, they had said that they were going to roll out the AWS spectrum, and they ended up bypassing that at the time and then going to LTE. So we had what we knew at the time, we had to hold on to our engineering staff because we had to make sure that we could actually develop the products that we needed. And we had to hold on to our sales staff because we needed the people that had the connection within the industry. And then, we had to keep enough manufacturing people that if, when the sales were to start coming, we would be able to ramp up.
Yeah.
So in 2009, our bank came to us and said, look, we're going to give you a quarter. You have to figure out how to work this out.
Wow.
And I was very, I just kept this guy, Alan Coppola. I would call him, I would email him the least bit of good news I got. I'm like, ding, right over to Alan. And I just I kept having these dreams, and it was a crazy dream if you can imagine sleeping and I have your computer monitor, and I had these dreams that like orders were spitting out of the monitor. And then one day, orders started spitting out of the monitor.
See that?
It was in March, and we had till June, and in March, we received our first round of orders, and I, called the bank and I said, look, it's coming. You have to, believe it's coming. And then they started to see it ramp up. And at that point in time, from May of 2009 until the end of the year, we added 100 people as employees. So
Goodness.
not only did we have to, go through, all this, the financing side of it, but we had to ramp up with labor. We had an incredible director of operations, Harold Griffin. He really did a great job for us, and just gave his life to the company to help us, get up and running, and so it went well. And
From prior podcasts, the workout guy. Remember the workout guy? Yeah.
I'm the guy that works it
The
out.
guy that works it out. Yeah.
I know this is gonna. If you take his name out, I'll tell you a story.
Okay, go
Take
ahead.
his name out, right?
We're not going to take his name out, but tell the story.
We'll take his name out.
All right, I'll dub it in.
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse. There you go.
So the day before the workout unit was coming into the company, I was watching Get Smart with David, my son, and the Maxwell Smart had just got sent upstairs to Chaos, and he was, he went up, and there's the big guy, and he was standing on a milk crush. He said, "Why is the big guy always so small?" Well, the next morning, they called me out to the lobby, and I was like, why is the big guy so small?
Okay, we'll take the name.
You have a lot to take out there now.
So we hear listen. It's not the first time we heard about the workout guy, and but it's an important part, and I want to unpack a couple parts of that because there's two really interesting moments there. That, yeah, again, a lot of what we try to do here is not only talk to folks that have been through it, but talk to folks who've not been through it yet. And look, we've had a good economy for a while. The market's been good. Things are inevitably going to turn over, whether it's in the next 10 months or a few years. So these are important moments, right,
Yeah.
in a business life when the workout guy's sitting in your boardroom,
And it's scary.
and it's scary.
And
And
we have personal guarantees. You're looking to say, well, everything that we have is on the line. Um, yeah. So, I mean, whatever you want to ask. It's
well,
I have
so
advice.
so talk about managing you already know it's happening, right? And what you said there really struck me because even though you were going through it, there's 2 ways to handle that moment, right?
Absolutely.
And what we find is that not a lot of people come into this podcast room who handle it one way, which is as it's going down, panic button, retract, and go into, go into a coma and try and hold your breath and hope you survive. You did the opposite. You kept your engineers on. You thought about the other side. You thought about the business being successful through the moment. And that's a consistency that we hear from our successful entrepreneurs that come in here. So talk to me about that. Your thinking and how did you get through it? What was your day by day thought process?
Yeah, so, what I knew to start with, let's go to the workout guys themselves. I made him my friend, right? And
Smart.
when I say that, whatever he wanted, I gave him. I was honest with him. He never could come up with something and say, "You said this and this,
Right.
it was wrong." I mean, he could say, "You said this was gonna happen," and it didn't happen because there were things I didn't have control over. But I kept him the highs and the lows, I kept him in so that he could have comfort to know that I wasn't hiding anything from him,
Wow.
and that's really, really important because, it's their job to protect the bank.
I mean, imagine that honesty, transparency, and integrity working. Who would have thought, huh, Michelle?
Pretty novel, right?
What a great business plan. Well, I mean,
Very
but the fact that it is a story tells you about
right.
business today. I mean, you that's brilliant.
Well, when we got to the end, we actually came out of special assets. We were there, we came out of special assets, and he told me that I was his favorite customer that he ever had.
That's
And
fantastic.
he said that most people don't make it out, and I think in his group, I was the only one that ever made it out. And listen, this wasn't just me. I mean, my ex-husband played a big part of it. He did a lot when, he was behind the design of the antennas I mean, so I have to give him kudos to that. But, but that relationship with the bank, really, I was going through it with the relationship
So you were essentially the operations, finance, he was
with
engineering.
engineering,
Uh,
and, we kinda met at sales where,
right.
he would go out on sales calls, but I worked with the sales team to, we had a plan, especially as we started doing really well, we really laid out a plan. We had a whole variety of antennas that we wanted to sell, and, so I worked with them on that. So it was
And then you get to the other side, and this is also a common theme, when you hit that massive growth spurt and the orders are coming in. By the way, if you want to dream about the market being up 30%,
I have a great listen, I have a great I can manifest things, so well,
okay, I'll give you a list of 10 things to
a list already,
so
I could just manifest for a living.
yes, it's a good retirement career. So, I'd like to shoot a 72 next time I'm out golfing, if you don't mind. Uh, so you get the orders in, and we've heard, again, kind of a common theme. When you hit that massive growth spurt, that's not any easier to manage than
No,
the challenging
it was
time, right?
very hard.
Because when you're growing that fast, 1 or 2 missteps, and you're back with the workout guy, the little guy on the carton.
Yeah, it was exactly. It was difficult, and at the same time, my oldest son, which my oldest son,
Yeah, David.
he has cerebral palsy. It's not bad, but he has some gait issues. And at the same time that all this happened, he had his first surgery, and he was in the hospital for a month.
Wow.
So I sat in the hospital for a month with him, and all I did was go through resumes, and that's how I would feed resumes to our director of operations to like this candidate looks good, and just so we could try to figure. But it really was kind of an implosion all at once of everything happening all at once. So it was a very difficult time, but it's a time that you can look back on in your life, and that's when you can give yourself, hey, now being whatever, however many years away from it, I can go back and say, okay, younger self, here's what you did right, here's what you did wrong, right?
So what did you do right, and what did you do wrong?
Well, I mean, I persevered,
Yeah.
right? But, I think we all spend a little bit too much time worrying about things that are out of our control, and we really should worry about the things that we can control and then work on the things that we can't control, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Wow, I like that. Mark that one down. That is no, that's sage advice. It's really great, and you talk about that time in your life. So you have 2 sons, 2 great kids, by the way. I know both of
thank
them.
you. I like
Um, David, who has CP, just an amazing young man. And for those out there listening, so David, he's an extraordinary story. He was on my son's sixth grade flag football team, and David, who couldn't run, was the steady center. And what I used to say to my wife before I even knew David, I was like, look at the smile on that kid's face. Every single play, he had this just this passionate love for football. And fast forward, he's now coaching, right? He made all through high school, he coached as a student coach. He goes to Syracuse. He's a student coach, headset on, talking to the coaches in the big games. He's now a college coach.
But go back to Syracuse when your son was on the Wake Forest team, and your wife and I would go and see them at the games together on opposite teams, and they would always hug in the middle of the field.
That's right. It was an amazing time, but what an incredible story. So, does he take after you?
I think it's in his blood. I mean, again, I have to give his father credit. His father's always been an entrepreneur also, and he's very smart. And, so I just think it's in his blood, and he's solid,
And
right?
you're pretty tenacious, though.
Yeah.
I mean, David is tenacious.
Yes, yes. I mean, I would like to say that. Yes, he takes after. But I think everybody, wants to say that. But anyway, fast forward when he went to Syracuse, talking about CSS and Syracuse, when we get to the sale of the company, we sold our company to JMA Wireless. And did I ever tell you this before?
I
So,
don't know.
okay.
You didn't tell them, so go ahead.
Okay. So, we sell to JMA Wireless, and fast forward, David's at Syracuse, and he's traveling with the team. And his senior year, the May, leading into his senior year at college, the Carrier Dome was always the Syracuse's dome was always called the Carrier Dome, and then JMA Wireless took over the naming rights, and JMA Wireless was actually the company that we sold our company to.
Wow.
And, I immediately got chills about that, and I actually texted my ex-husband and my 2 kids, and nobody texted me back. It was crickets. But I just wanted them to know that I thought that that was very special that, David was gonna be there, and he graduated in the Carrier Dome, and he coached in the Carrier or in the JMA Wireless Dome.
Yeah, well,
So
David Sobczak's gonna be an NFL coach, everybody, write it down.
yes,
He's
and please sooner than later.
That's right, for all you NFL, organization leaders. Well, I will tell you my favorite moment, and then we'll get back to this. I've watched this, I might make her cry, was David's senior game.
Oh, yes.
So David was the coach, and my son was a quarterback on this high school team, and at David's senior game, he dressed up in full uniform, and he took the first kickoff.
It's actually at halftime at from after halftime,
Yeah.
right? And John Carroll agreed to take a penalty for
Yeah.
it. But you know why John Carroll agreed to that? Because David worked with so many of the students at John Carroll trying to help them be better football players. So
It was great. It
it
was an amazing
yeah,
moment.
it is a good story.
Him on the field with his uniform, getting his play as a high school football player. I mean, that was just such an incredible story, and he's an amazing young man. Both of your sons were just incredible.
And Danny just got a job. So excited. And he's moved out, and so I'm very excited for both of them. It's a fun time. It's watching your kids. At the end of the day, if they're successful, then you're a success.
Yeah,
It's
that's amazing. So walk me through your first. So we JMA Wireless bought you. How did that come about? You had the workout guy. You come out. You have this amazing growth that you have to manage while you're in a hospital with your son, passing resumes. You're building this thing back up into a powerhouse. At some point, something hits you. It's either they knock on the door or there was a moment. What was your moment that you said, okay, it's time?
so I think jointly we agreed that we did not have 5G in us. Like
Oh,
we had went through LTE, we were doing very well, and the industry, is so competitive, and there's so few carriers now that if you're not on their list, you're done.
right.
So I think we both looked at it as a win to try to get out of the industry, and our customer concentration mix was through the roof. So we hired a broker and, started the process. And I believe the process probably took about a year and a half
Okay.
and to get the right
So
buyer.
that's a deliberate process.
yes, it was a process. We, talked to many people along the way. It took us a long time to get our sim together and our crap to get out into the market. But once we were out there, it went pretty quickly.
But a good lesson too, and again, to entrepreneurs who are out there who are having success, and as you start to think about this moment, I think the takeaway there, the smart piece there is you took your time getting it together, right? So I think what we see, because we coach a lot of, that's our primary business, but entrepreneurs liquidating businesses, what we see is you can't be in a rush to go to market. Because what frustrates buyers is unprepared sellers. And then they're asking for information. And when you don't have it or it's not already done, it creates a little suspicion. It creates concern. So when you're organized and you're prepared and you're ready, that creates a very willing buyer. And that, at the end of the day, that equals multiple.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was. I mean, I, we were prepared at the time.
Good.
By the time we got out to market, we were prepared. And we worked with Bangor Bryant, which was a sister company to Patriot Capital, again, here in Baltimore. And the folks that we worked with there, they were very helpful. I mean, they had this young banker that they brought in, Stacy Whittlesberger, who's now one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And she's on her Excel spreadsheet. Kudos to her. She's the one that created the sim. We just fed her information.
That's
And
great.
I said to her, who likes to do that? And she says, I do.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um, that's great. So, but interestingly, so you have this exit. You do very well with your exit, and there's a myriad of choices in your life in front of you. And I know right around that time you divorced. Now you're a single mom, raising these two magnificent kids, um, but not done yet. Interestingly,
No.
you took a little time off. You gathered yourself, and then you
It's a
said,
process.
I want to do more. Well, so talk about the process.
I mean, the process is you're used to being involved in something that's thrilling, right? Something where you have a sense of
Good word.
purpose, you're building something every day, you're part of a team, and then you could ride off into the sunset, but what are you gonna do? I mean, so what did I do? I joined our school, parents association.
That's not what I call thrilling. Hardly a
Listen,
replace.
no, no, no. I just knew I needed to give myself time, but I also had to be involved. I was on a capital campaign for another school. Did some volunteering at the time.
They did not see that coming.
And and then my younger son really wanted a lab. This lab came, Maggie, full of energy, needed to walk every day. What did I think about on my walk every single day?
Thrill, thrill, thrill.
What am I gonna do? Right? And you're checking the boxes. This isn't gonna cut it. This isn't gonna cut it. Right. So I had a friend who's still my friend, but also was my business partner in the next business. And he had an exit the year before. So I would call him every once in a while and say, what are you doing? Like, what do we do now? And he said, I'm in the same boat. And I knew of a couple other people. So we put together this little investment club type of thing. And we would meet like once a month and throw pitch decks around that we've received and talk about businesses and whether or not we wanted to invest in them. But still, that wasn't like where I was in my life. I still wanted to be part of the growth story, not just a financer in the story. And he came across, he knew someone that had just been awarded a project with Kent County, Maryland, to build a fiber ring throughout Kent County. And the purpose of that was to facilitate a ring for all the office buildings and fire departments and schools within Kent County. But then it was also supposed to be an open platform for a fiber to the home provider to come in and serve all these residents. If you look at satellite, you look at wireless, whatever. Fiber, a direct connection to your home is the best connection that's run out. So we agreed and we started the company and we said, okay, we'll be a fiber to the home provider on this open access network. And that was in 2016. In 2017, that company that won the award in the RFP with Kent County failed. So we actually bought that project. So then
Okay.
we ended up owning that fiber ring. We worked out a deal with Kent County. And, this was a huge thing because, that ring, there were a lot of contractors that had I not worked out a deal with Kent County, those contractors wouldn't have gotten paid. But what I knew, and I had a UCC on the ring because I had loaned some money, so I had first dibs on it, and they're really for what they owed me, really to run it, there wouldn't have been a lot more if it had gone through bankruptcy to get everybody else paid. So, um, we worked out a deal to Kent County, and they really stepped up, and we both made some concessions, and all those contractors, it was a couple $1,000,000 that the Kent County came forward that they were going to pay over time to us. They ended up paying to pay the contractors off. That way, everybody was made whole in that transaction, and then we became Kent County's partner. And then over the course of time, now we do all their internet for all their buildings, all their schools. We have a great relationship. Their IT director, he was the one that originally came up with the idea to try to help get some of these rural residents served. And he's still there, and he's done a phenomenal job.
Got the contractors paid. Honesty, integrity, transparency strikes again. Strikes again. And I could just imagine though. I have this image of you, all those the people at businesses, and you're all looking for the thrill, and you're passing around. It goes back to your lab. It's like a bunch of labs in a room. And you throw one ball in the middle, and they're all like,
Yeah. It was, I mean, they were all very smart people.
yeah.
Very, very smart people. And some of them have went on and actually started other businesses and been very successful with those, the next generation of their businesses.
So how was that transition? Because now you start that business. The boys are older,
Mhm.
but
They're, yeah, 16 and 14.
yeah, but they're in that moment, right?
Right.
That
Well,
16 and 14-year-old boys get in, and you've just done PTA. Um,
you know that, parents. It's
yes, dude, I know well. And so now you gotta turn it back on, gear it up, and manage in a whole different way than you did the first time, right? This is a completely different
completely
experience.
different business. Okay, so fast forward, now we own this project, and I was the majority owner, and in Chestertown with the county, the town manager, and our director of operations, talking about this project that we're building out, and all the underground infrastructure, and just everything to do with what we're about to bring into Chestertown.
And it's an incredible endeavor, right? Bringing internet to people who don't
Yeah.
have it. I don't think because most people don't understand what life is like without internet, which, by the way, everybody includes Wi-Fi on
Exactly.
your phone. I mean, it's literally our whole lives, and people don't have it. I mean,
People don't. I mean, I have lots of stories I'll continue to tell you,
uh,
but, um, I was sitting at the table, I had no idea what they were talking about, and I said, "How did I get here?" And then, you just make a commitment, "I'm gonna figure this out," and I just became a student again all over and, learned the industry, and yeah, and but if many entrepreneurs do that, right? I mean, they have multiple businesses over the course of their lifetime, they learn the industry, and, our director of operations that is still currently our director of operations, he came from the company that failed that we purchased, and he came over with it, and he continued to run the project, and it was a success story. We finished the project that Kent County had originally, put out to have done, and then we began, building to folks in Kent County that did not have any internet service. But we realized very quickly you can't build in rural areas without subsidies. So then my next phase of my job became a lobbyist. I was very fortunate enough to know a lobbyist very well.
yeah, he's a great guy. They are.
So I had to say, "Dear, not only, do I want you, but I actually need you right now."
For those not catching the code, JR was a tremendous guy who was very close to Deanna at the time.
Still is,
Still is. Yeah.
and still is my favorite lobbyist ever.
Right. Exactly.
But, so, I started talking to him about it, and at the time, Governor Hogan had just gotten into office also, he was governor, and he said, "Let me get you in front of the governor, and you can, make a pitch." So Mark and I, my business partner that I started Think Big with, we started showing up at events where Governor Hogan was, and, the first time that I'd met him before, but, the first time that I went to actually talk to him about this, um, he had just come back from a road trip, and he was on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and he said, "Oh, I just did a trip all through Eastern Shore of Maryland." And I said, "Well, how was your internet?" And he said, "It was horrible." I said, "That's what I'm here to talk to you about." So it was immediately, immediate. And he said one of his initiatives was to actually, start some funding with the state, roll out grant programs in order to be able to help providers serve these unserved residents. You know, the traditional, the FiOS and the Comcast, they all have franchise agreements with the states or the county or the counties or the localities. And really their mandate is somewhere around 19 homes per mile. If you have this contiguous, 18 or 19 homes per mile, they'll continue to build because they can build that into a business model. But when you get to homes a mile, 4 homes a mile, or you go 2 miles without any homes, you can't turn it into a business plan.
Thinking about the logistics. So I heard a podcast where you were on, which was an industry podcast, and they were really digging into the technical aspect of what you were doing project by project. And I mean, it's the business. When I first heard about the business you were doing years ago, I thought, wow, that's great, right? Bringing internet out, fiber, reliable, fast. But when I heard you talk on this podcast, I mean, it's literally 100 yards at a time. You have to negotiate to get that fiber through properties,
Easements.
through yeah, easements and listen, there's asphalt, there's grass, there's different I mean, it's you're literally grinding away to get this to one house a mile down the road. What a that's a tough business.
It is a tough business, and, it ended up, the state did come out with some grant programs, and, we have participated in every one of their cycles that they had grant programs out there, um, and, we've been very successful in that arena, but it's a hard business to scale if you're just going after rural businesses, right? So, we ran into 2 projects. We became Harford County's rural broadband partner. We partnered with Charles County, and we did, 100 and I don't know, maybe like 120 miles down there between 2 different grants, but in the Charles County and in the Harford County, there were no right-of-ways, so we had to actually knock on doors and get easements. I mean, like, going back to the 1900s when electric was rolling out, right? And, and then you meet the farmer that owns both sides of the road, and he says, "You know what? I moved out here, I'm out here, I don't want internet. I don't like my neighbors." I don't want any more neighbors here. I'm not letting you through my property. So, it has been a challenge. But we've been fortunate enough in Charles County, we've pretty much gotten through everything and it's been a success. And the people down there that have subscribed, they love us. At our office manager, she always says they're my favorite customers because they are so thankful that we came, So now when we're building in places where people have choices, they don't love us as much as people do that don't have a choice.
Well, what was your you said you had what was your favorite I don't have any internet story?
During COVID, I mean, my favorite, just because it was COVID, is I was riding a path, Goose Hollow Road, I think it was called. And I'm visual, right? So I have to get in my car and go see. I do it now, even wherever we're going to build. I always go see it so I can talk about it.
Right.
Some people can just look at a map and street views and they feel like they have it. I just need to live it. And so COVID, I'm riding down the road and there's this moving truck and this gentleman's out in the driveway. And so I stopped and rolled my window down and, I introduced myself and I said, "Hi, we just received a grant. We're going to be building fiber down your street." He said, "Oh my gosh." He said, I'm an attorney in Bethesda. I had no idea that I could come here and not have internet." He said, "I just settled on this house to work from here during COVID and I can't." So I got out of my car and I was talking to him and then he hugged me and I was like, "It's COVID."
Would love to hear the story of how when you talk to the farmer who says, "I don't want it here. I don't want this to happen." I mean, having met you, you're such an affable person. How do you do you have to disarm? I mean, the guy that works it out, I think you were able to kind of like
Yeah.
work with him but how does that work when you're talking with someone who's just absolutely opposed to what you're doing or doesn't understand it?
Yeah, I mean, you just you talk about, the good that it brings. I mean, there's a kid that lives on the other side that needs this for education, right? If you don't have access to the internet at this point in time, right? I know that for young kids, internet isn't necessarily a good thing, but from an education standpoint, from a closeness standpoint, being able to FaceTime, being able to just the social for adults and older people, the social part of it, the medical part of it. The internet really is kind of a source
Yeah.
for everything in our
Yeah.
now. And
It's blood in the system.
right. And then again, Michelle, I have to tell you that I actually have folks that have helped me get easements. I mean, I had people on our team that were dedicated to just knocking on the door, and they did a great job. And even, our director of sales, Michelle, she kind of like I called her putting a puzzle together, right? So she would have a map and highlight the ones that we needed, and like try to figure out, okay, we go down here, and then we zigzag over to here, then you come back here, so it ended up being, just putting a puzzle together.
Well, I think with the story, going through the story, I think what it tells is the difference between an entrepreneur and a technical expert, and that you came in for you went into from accounting to an antenna business, and your husband was an engineer, so he understood, but you were running all this operations, and then you do a complete shift into a business you don't know anything about. But
But I
that's
knew business.
but that's my point.
Yeah.
That's what entrepreneurs do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs say opportunity recognized, right? So you see an opportunity, you recognize it, you do the work. Right? That's our famous definition for luck. People say, "Oh, look how lucky you are. Found this new business." No, no, no. It was an opportunity. You understood it, you seized it, you did the work and the education, and then you executed with really fanaticism, right? For that business, it has to be. Um, and that's the difference. I mean, that's what I find fascinating about this. You learned about the business itself, but you also had to deal with lobbying, grants, moving fiber cable around, easements. I mean,
And then money
it,
is so expensive.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so
it's unbelievable.
expensive. So then we
Tell me
brought
about
in,
that. What are
yeah, then we brought in, we had to, in 2022, we made the decision that if we wanted to continue to grow, that we needed to bring in a partner, a financial partner. So, again,
this is
got,
IQ fiber.
no, this was in 2022, not or two, right? So we had two generations of raising money
Okay.
because that's how fast you spend money in this industry if you choose to continue to grow. So Mark and I, who Mark is my business partner, or I guess was my business partner then, but we're still both in IQ Fiber now. But he, we talked about if we want to this company to really succeed, we need to bring in capital, and then and really try to grow. Go into some overbuild markets, and then just continue to advance. So we went out on the road again, raising capital, and it ended up at the end of the day, went back to Patriot Capital, and they joined with a company called Boundary Street Capital, which they are just in this industry. So the head of the main partner in Boundary Street is, I would say, is a this space in this space. He's just an expert, and they ended up partnering and coming in, and so we had them from 2022 until actually we just sold on January 2nd of 2025. But they were great value adds. So they brought in money. It was a limited amount of money, and so we continued to build, but we decided instead of just growing in the rural spaces, we started to do overbuilds. And what we look at as an overbuild is going into areas where there's one sole provider and they have not upgraded their network in many, many years. So it's usually a cable provider. At this point in time, we went up against Breezeline, and then now we're going up against Comcast. Ended up, but they brought great value. They actually, when we were smaller, there were a lot of things that I kept in my head that I then had to become transparent with,
Mhm.
right? So building being able to provide the right KPIs, putting out presentations and really building a great board, and putting the right people around us to help us make the right decisions. They were key and pivotal in that. Boundary Street introduced me to several people that were on our board, and one of them being this gentleman, Ted Trump. Ted Trump is the CEO of IQ Fiber, now my boss. And, so he was on our board, and again, we were building, we knew we needed to raise money again. We had enough of a runway to get us through this year, But, when I was looking at the end of last year, I'm like, I don't want to wait for that way to run out, right? I want to be proactive and make sure that we can continue. And we built this great team. I want to make sure my employees, continue to have work. Because in the broadband industry, in our business in particular, it's really two types of businesses. One, you're doing construction, and then on the other side, you are an internet service provider, right? So, and in order to continue to keep with the construction, you have to continue to grow. So, we hired Q advisors out of Denver, Colorado. Put together a sim, went out in the marketplace. Ted was actually on the board at the time, so he, was following all along. IQ Fiber is backed by SDC Capital out of New York. We had talked to them previously in 2022 when we were raising money, and then our advisors went to SDC, and SDC said, "Look, we like Think Big, and we would be interested, but we don't want another platform. So if one of our existing platforms wants to take Think Big under their umbrella, we'd be more than happy to do it."
Perfect.
Or, to look into it. Not, obviously we went through a grueling process, just the underwriting, just to make sure that we are who we are. And, so as it folded out, as it ran out through the process, we talked to several other private equity firms. And then one day I had talked to Ted about helping make an introduction for me. And at the same time, he said, "Hey, how about I get an NDA for my CFO? I'm going to step aside and see if it's something that we might want to do." So, to make a long story short, we ended up, coming to terms with IQ Fiber, and then we were acquired in January. When we went out originally to raise money, it wasn't to sell a company, right? So, and I've been this lifelong entrepreneur since I was 25. Mark has been an entrepreneur for a long period of time, and that was never really the intent. But, when that opportunity arose, um, I really like Ted. Ted has been great, and he's already was well known within our company. He had already come in, talked to people. He's brilliant. When you look at what he did with IQ Fiber, he has been in the cable industry for many, many years, and, I could say a really, really, really long time, but I actually am older than him, so I'm gonna watch see that.
Not supposed to admit that.
Oh, so he had this idea, he had crappy cable where he was living, and he realized that in Jacksonville, Florida, an NFL city, that there was really no fiber, not
Hmm.
a huge fiber presence. So he put together a business plan. He went out to the market, ended up, I guess, I don't know if SDC chose him or he chose SDC, how that worked. But, they came to an agreement and he started this company. When he started the company, he called all of his friends that had been in the industry, that he had worked with over the period of time or knew, and the best of the best. They were all fed up, and so he started this company, him and Kim Smithers, who's a CMO, who's tremendous also. They started this company and they just brought this talent in and they said, "We want to be different. We don't want to be the traditional cable company. We want to be, no gimmicks. We are what we are, customer service, customers first." And that is the brand that they have built. And we were fascinated with it from the side when he would come and tell stories at Think Big. And then the thought that, okay, no matter what, one day I was going to have to sell this company. And if I chose to stay on, then work for someone. I couldn't pick a better boss,
Right.
right? So I already knew that I had a great relationship. And so it took some of the fear out of someone that hasn't worked for somebody for so long. Just to know the person that I was going to be working with. And so far it's been great.
So
It's been a month, and I've had a ton of excuses because we've had nothing but bad weather. And listen, right here on the air, we haven't had bad weather in many years, right?
right, that's right. That's right. Like you said earlier when we were talking, you're like going to the performance meeting. I'm like,
Not nothing.
bad weather. Well, the workout guy hasn't shown up yet, so you're okay. But I think what's interesting, by the way, great name, Think Big Networks. I think what's interesting though is your first capital raise, you pick somebody with experience, industry experience that could help you, right? Your second, which was the sale, you pick somebody you respected. It's about people. It's about
And the product,
uh,
because
and by the way, honesty, integrity, right?
absolutely,
Uh,
but also, that Think Big was our baby, right? If
mhm.
I'm going to put that baby with another company, when I look at their brand versus our brand, I mean, their brand is gold plated, and I'm really excited to be part of that,
Part of
right? And, we're not there yet. We're working on it. We have some things to do, to get to the IQ brand,
Mhm.
but, super excited to be on that journey
And have the thrill.
the thrill and, now, it's just we're in growth mode.
Well, I do think what's interesting about it, and I guess the question here is your sale in the first sale was liquidation. You got your capital, you kind of the quote unquote, we hate the term bank, but money in the bank. And this next sale is unique, right? The capital raise was to get capital to grow and to have this expert. The sale was because of this iconic brand in your industry and this person and your ability to be associated with them. That's a very different sale and thought
Absolutely.
process. And I guess the question is it the experience of the first, or is it the fact that you went through first so you're in a better position to do the second, or is it just experience? Just now now that you get it, because and the reason I ask the question
Okay.
is what we hear or what we see a lot. We see it with our clients all the time. Is you go out with a cause in your sale, whether it's continuity or it's retirement or whatever it is, and you get involved, and the bankers get in there, and the emotions start to spin, and you start to make decisions based on multiples, right? But multiples at the moment, not multiples that impact your life. And so it sounds like you did the latter this time. So
Again, but we went out, remember, we went out to raise money. We didn't go out for a sale.
yep,
So, as that opportunity came, and then actually Mark and I did fly down to Jacksonville. We saw the company that they had have grown and are continuing to grow. I mean, they were in Jacksonville, now they're in Gainesville. They're moving into Savannah. So, and STC has confidence. STC has, they performed. And so I wanna be part of something bigger because in this we're a utility. I can't continue to do it on my own, and so, we had to bring in a partner, and then when I looked at the back office that they had already created, there were steps ahead of us, many, many steps. They were floors ahead of us, right?
right,
So,
right,
um, so it just made sense, and, and then being part of it, being able to still be part of it, because, I love our team here in Maryland. I love working in Maryland. There's a lot that I would like to do in Maryland, and, so having that opportunity is great to have the capital behind us now with STC and, the wisdom and guidance from the folks at IQ Fiber, we're really excited.
so you still got a long road ahead of you here.
I do.
It's a sale, but it's not.
I'm here.
It's a
Staying.
continuation, right?
I'm
Of
thinking bigger though.
that's what I
Not
like.
just thinking big, I'm thinking bigger.
That's what I like. Well, you genuinely had an extraordinary career,
Absolutely.
and I think again, what I love about your story is there's a perseverance throughout this whole story. There's community college and putting yourself through, going to Towson, starting a business, finding a completely new business, getting that through, um, being a single mom, starting another business, dealing with, dealing with an issue that didn't stop an extraordinary young man, raising 2 kids. I mean, all the way through this is all perseverance, learning an industry. It's really amazing story. So, I guess my last question is, you look back at young you, and there's a lot of young people, and in particular, young women. Um, your story is such an inspiration. It's such a fantastic inspiration. What would you tell yourself back then? What you could just reach back and just whisper in your ear, what would you tell yourself?
How much time do we have? Right? I would tell myself a lot. And I'm sure you do this too. When you look back, you have a lot of successes and a lot of failures.
That's right.
So what I would tell myself is don't give up
Right.
and be present, live in the moment, and enjoy the journey. Going to work, I have fun going to work. I hear people say, "Oh my gosh, I have to go to work." It's a shame because that's your life.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think, even if you you separate it and you say work is work, it's still your life. It's your life. And so live in it, enjoy it. When
Michelle, are we having any fun at work?
I have a lot of fun at work.
Okay, good answer.
I'm always entertained at work.
No, I'm not really sure what to say because she's the head of marketing. So go ahead.
yeah, so I mean, just enjoy the journey. I tell that to my kids, is they're, struggling to get a job. One landed a job, one still, trying to find that perfect job for him. The joy is in the journey. So don't over stress yourself. Just take it in. If you had a bad day, learn from it, right? Tomorrow's another day and everything is temporary. So, whatever it is that you're going through, it is a temporary situation and just keep going and believe. I wish I would have thought bigger when I was younger, right? Because I really didn't think that big when I was younger. It's as I got older that I started to think bigger and, but I've had a wonderful life. I mean, I've had a wonderful career, a wonderful family, and it's being present,
Yeah. Well,
not stressing so much. I mean, the whole stress thing, I think I think your wife could get in on this. That I've learned from her, breathe.
was that a comment towards me? They should say my wife's stressed because she's my wife. I think she's referring to the fact that my wife is a yoga.
Yes, that breathe. But it's true, when you're really just breathe and and allow yourself and don't overreact.
Right.
That,
I feel like this generation is afraid to fail, and they don't understand that failing is a very valuable asset in your growth, right? Failing is important because it teaches you how to stand back up, how to adjust, how to persevere. And I think it's our fault, by the way, right? I think
see, that's
us as
your talent.
parents,
Yeah.
we've over coddled, and we trying to make sure everybody's successful no matter what the outcome is, and the world is outcome oriented, right? The world is not as we see it as parents. The world is outcome oriented, and so your story is important for, I think, a young person coming up. You gotta fail. You gotta get back up. To your point, you gotta enjoy, and you gotta embrace it, right?
The path to success is not linear.
Now,
It is like that path, that roller coaster, Disney World, Hershey Park, your life has, I mean, they have nothing on your life because it is just up, down, zigzag, whatever, right? And so yeah. And then, the other thing though, and for both of us is that when we were going through what our kids are going through now, when we were leaving home and getting our first jobs, it was very easy for us to get to the standard of living that we were used to with our
right,
parents.
right.
It's a challenge for these kids when they have been coddled or had success in their families. It's harder for them. They have to take steps back and most of the time they want to because they just want to get away from us anyway. You
Right. Right. And that might be why we subsidize some of their expenses.
that may or may not be the case.
Well, Deanna, this has been an absolute pleasure. Congratulations on an amazing career.
Thanks,
That's
yeah.
still going. I mean,
I'm excited.
we got to get the Thriller music theme song in on this somewhere. Okay.
I can just start singing it if
Yeah.
you'd like.
No,
I'll dance.
lot of fun, an amazing story. Wish you all the success in the world.
Thank you. Same to you.
And I wish it to you, even though I know it's already going to happen.
Thank you.
You're an amazing person. So thanks for coming in, and
And thank you for having me, Leo, and congratulations on all your success. I mean, this is it's a beautiful thing that you're doing. I love your podcast.
thank you.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. I love turning on TV and seeing your smiling face.
Well, that makes one. Had them all up.
I heard that Marcy mutes it.
Yeah.
Mutes you. She's like, I want to look, but I don't want to listen.
Yeah, she's heard enough about me. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning into From the Ground Up with Dee Anna Sobczak and her amazing story. I am required by Michelle to tell you that you can subscribe and like our podcasts in multiple venues, podcasts on Apple, Spotify, our website. Anything I'm missing?
Doing great. Yeah, you can get all the episodes at fromthegroundup.fm, and that sort of gives you the keys to the kingdom, so you can go anywhere from there.
From thegroundup.fm or at verdence.com under podcasts. I think that's it for my commercial. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the conversation.